NASA JPL turning to nature for ways to safely collect space trash. Many lights flicker in the night sky, but not all are stars. Some are satellites. More than 1,300 satellites float above us. Some provide navigation information like GPS, some study the planet, and some beam TV to millions. However, these satellites don't last for very long. Most of them rarely operate for more than 10 years. New satellites and busted old ones crowd the orbit around Earth. Governments and researchers are looking for ways to clean up this traffic jam. Some people have proposed shooting lasers from Earth to knock down old satellites, or using slingshots, nets, and whips to fling them down. As yet, though, no one's ready to pay for these methods. It's not clear exactly whose job it is to clean it up, says Aaron Parnas. He is a robotics researcher at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. Gecko-like pads would grab space trash. Now, a collaboration between Parnas's JPL group and a team of Stanford engineers might have a sticky solution. Special systems with adhesive pads like the feet of a gecko that grab trash in space. The U.S. government follows tens of thousands of artificial objects around Earth. However, many are too small to track. Any one of these tiny bits moving at hyperspeed could damage satellites or space stations, causing anything from dents to explosions. One big target is the International Space Station, ISS. It floats above Earth and takes hits from tiny particles and must dodge larger bits a few times each year. And smaller spacecraft are in danger too. In 2009, a U.S. commercial satellite crashed into a Russian military satellite. Each burst into a debris cloud that encircled the planet. Debris belt around Earth. 40 years ago, NASA astrophysicist Donald Kessler predicted that this space junk could get worse. He said pieces of broken satellites and other space objects could create a debris belt around Earth. These little bits can crash into our space objects and could someday stop space activity. NASA's Orbital Debris Program Office predicts that pieces of space junk will get bigger. The amount of softball-sized space junk will double within 200 years, they say. There is only one workable solution. Get rid of the big stuff, Kessler urges. Space agencies have a small amount of time to act. 13 of them joined to form the Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee, IADC, in 1993. It sets guidelines for how much junk that satellites can drop into space. But not everyone follows the rules. The European Space Agency is very strict at enforcing their guidelines, Kessler says, but the U.S. has not been doing very well. Removing old broken satellites would help. The good news is, careful prevention could stop the problem before it gets worse. NASA studied satellites that could create dangerous space junk. If we can remove 5 of these problem satellites per year starting in 2020, the debris cloud will not get worse. But there are at least 2 challenges. An old broken satellite usually spins rapidly through space. Anyone collecting trash in space has to stop the object, then grab it. Project inspired by sticky feet geckos. The Stanford JPL project was inspired by the geckos and their sticky feet. The animals are some of nature's best climbers. The scientists created a new sticky grabbing system to capture broken satellites, which was featured Wednesday in the journal Science. The air in space is like a powerful vacuum, which makes it hard for sticky systems to work correctly. But geckos have a special system that bends the rules. They have tiny hairs around their feet, which create a friction-like force with smooth surfaces that allow their feet to stick. Friction is the force at work when 2 surfaces rub against each other. The team's trash grabber copies that behavior. Their device can grip and release a variety of shapes without pushing them away. Space adventure may prove costly. The other challenge is that removing satellites can be expensive. But where space travel was once paid for by governments, now there are more private spaceflight companies like SpaceX. Parnas suggests charging these companies a tax whenever they launch a rocket, which can go towards paying for space cleanup. No country has agreed to such a fee so far. Parnas says that laws about space are complicated and it makes cleanup harder. Countries need to cooperate on the rules. For now, he wants to test the Gecko gripper outside the ISS. Eventually, he wants to work with groups who fix satellites and send them into space, like universities and private companies. We're building the technology so that whenever the decision makers decide it's time, we'll be ready to go, Parnas says. Read the conclusion below. 1. Space agencies must act quickly to address the growing problem of space debris. Which sentence from the article provides the best support to this statement? A. 40 years ago, NASA astrophysicist Donald Kessler predicted that this space junk could get worse. B. NASA's Orbital Debris Program Office predicts that pieces of space junk will get bigger. C. The amount of softball-sized space junk will double within 200 years, they say. D. 13 of them joined to form the Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee, IADC, in 1993. Number 2. Read the section, Space Adventure May Prove Costly. Select the sentence that suggests that holding private companies accountable could make space cleanup more affordable. A. The other challenge is that removing satellites can be expensive. B. Parnas suggests charging these companies a tax whenever they launch a rocket, which can go toward paying for space cleanup. C. Parnas says that laws about space are complicated and it makes cleanup harder. D. Eventually, he wants to work with groups who fix satellites and send them into space, like universities and private companies. Number 3. The word debris is essential to understanding what is floating in space. Which sentence from the article best explains what debris means? A. Governments and researchers are looking for ways to clean up this traffic jam. B. Each burst into a debris cloud that encircled the planet. C. He said pieces of broken satellites and other space objects could create a debris belt around Earth. D. If we can remove 5 of these problem satellites per year starting in 2020, the debris cloud will not get worse. Number 4. Read the sentence from the introduction. Many lights flicker in the night sky, but not all are stars. Which of the following words, if it replaced the word flicker in the sentence above, would change the meaning of the sentence? A. Sparkle. B. Flash. C. Glimmer. D. Tremble.